Welcome to our Week 2 wrap-up here at Season 15 of Blood, Sweat, and Beers. I'd like to start this week's wrap-up with a little discussion. Okay, it's a rant because you don't get to talk about trades. I want to like trades. It seems exciting, and I'm excited for other people when they make trades. When I see a trade proposal come across, I get excited to look to see who wants to swap which players, who's trying to plug a hole in their roster. It's interesting to me, and I like it. And then when I'm involved with that trade, I have such a hard time pulling the trigger. I don't know what it is. Yesterday I had 2 trades come across in very quick succession, and frankly I was busy. I was focused on something else, and so I had a hard time looking over, valuing the trades on both sides. One was a multiplayer trade, one was a 1-for-1, and it got a bit overwhelming. And so I said, okay, I need to take a break. And I think that's one of the reasons why we don't see more trades in the league over the course of the season. We see a few, and obviously some of you are a little more given to pulling the trigger on something quick, fly by the seat of your pants, take a flyer on somebody, or be confident in valuing a certain player who's maybe undervalued, or feeling good about banking on that guy who's overvalued. I get it. I'm just never that guy. I don't know what it is. It's a much more conservative approach. It doesn't always work. I've had the opportunity to win the whole thing, but also I've ended 9th, 10th place. So I don't know that there's any consistency there. But I have a hard time when we're talking about, well, more or less bench players. If it's something like I'm going to trade Christian McCaffrey for Justin Jefferson, oh, that's kind of a big deal. Or if I've got a clear value player, maybe somebody wants to offer me for Josh Jacobs, knowing there's going to be an upside at some point. He's not going to continue the low production that he has right now over the course of the season, and they want to drop somebody more significant, a much better receiver on from their team. That would be, I would kind of go back and forth on that. But when it comes to just swapping out a backup tight end for a backup running back, guys that over the first 2 weeks I didn't even consider putting in my lineup. I know it's only 2 weeks, but I guess sometimes I lose the purpose of that. Kind of curious if you guys feel the same way. Does it seem like you're just swapping guys around in the closet that don't really ever get to see the light of day, and so it doesn't really matter? Or I know ideally the idea is that you will use this to bolster your roster to win now or to win long term. I know that's the goal, but how many of you feel like trades really get you there? I'm kind of curious. Okay, rant is over. Now let's look at the week. Let's take a look at what actually happened last week on our teams. I did my part. It looked rough going into Monday night. I actually thought that I was going to let Keith go 1-1, maintain his goal of being a Triple Crown winner. But thankfully, my defense came through. Ended up being my highest scoring position of the week. Now I'm okay with that because it was only literally a couple of points higher, and I had 4 guys that were over 25. I think 5 over 20. So an anomaly that it was the highest scoring, and I won by 20, so I didn't need them to score the 2 touchdowns and everything that they did, although I certainly appreciate it. So we're going to keep rolling with taking Keith out at every opportunity. He is sitting as the clear number 1 in points against through the first 2 weeks, which is probably not sustainable, although I pretty much went wire to wire last year on points against, so I guess it is a possibility. But when you take a look at that by the numbers, he's right there, basically tied for 6th for points scored, and only 10th, 3.5 of a point off of 5th place. So he's right in the middle in scoring. So we kind of expect everybody to bring your A game when Keith comes out. Make good on his challenge to us to not let him win. So let's see if we can do that. We'll see how many weeks we can go before he gets his first win and who that loser just might happen to be. As we flip around to the other side, we've got a couple of teams that are winless through 2. Aaron and Alex Billy. Kind of an interesting combo there. I would say that Alex Billy is probably just slightly better position to come off with some wins after that. It's only an 18-point differential between what he scored and scored against him. 9 points each week. I think this was his larger loss here at almost 14. Last week was just 4 points. So he's right there, pretty close to being in the games. And so likely he's going to tip the scales there. Aaron, on the other hand, just a little bit further out. There was a 19-point loss here this week to Joe. So we'll have to see if those guys can pull themselves out of the basement there with Keith. No one's gunning for you guys, so you don't really have any excuse other than just, well, yeah, it's a rough team. So let's do some week 2 overreactions. Overreaction number 1. Augustus Gloop, Hoffman is going to run the table. He is going to blow us all out. 150 points a game? Are you kidding me? And it's not because no one's stepping up, and he certainly isn't 2-0 because no one's scoring points against him. As you can see, 3rd most points against. Doesn't matter. He's scoring the most points over the first 2 weeks. So, overreaction? Should we hand Hoffman the trophy now? All right, we'll have to see how that goes. Second overreaction for week 2. Joe will end up in 10th place at the end of the season. 206 points total. Not much worse than Ian, although Ian is claiming that he wasn't paying attention the first week. Still won his game, so low points didn't really have an effect on week 1 for him. And even though he's looking at 23 points a differential against him, he's still 1-1. Joe, 103 points a game. Joe is not going to make the playoffs. In fact, Joe is going to end up dead last at the end of the season. Is that an overreaction? Joe will certainly think so. But we'll have to see as the season progresses. Enjoy week 3.